It's time for the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is the voice of the working class, Rick Smith.
And welcome, brothers, sisters, working class heroes. This is the Rick Smith Show. Thanks so much for being here. Today on the big program, lots to get to. Lots to talk about. Sad news today. An attack on the Abbey Gate in Kabul at the airport. A 13th service member has died in the attack from the wounds suffered during the attack. 18 more have been injured. That's what's being reported. Something like 90 Afghans were harmed. A horrible day. A truly horrible day, and a reminder of what war is. And yeah, we're getting out, and thank goodness we're getting out. But this is what happens, and this was sadly predictable. And what was equally predictable, and this is what's most disgraceful in these moments, are those people who are all tingly in the panties to attack President Biden over the dead bodies of our nation's soldiers. Could there be anything more un-American? Now, these are people who claim to be uber patriots. These are the folks who wave the flag and stand for the national anthem. And yet today, they're using the not yet cold corpses of our soldiers to further their agendas. Disgraceful, despicable, and un-American. You know, it used to be when horrible things like this happened, and look, I guess I'm old enough to remember, I did not vote for George W. Bush, didn't particularly like George W. Bush, but when 9/11 happened, all that was aside. You put that stuff aside. It used to be that, when we put our disagreements aside, this stuff stopped at the water's edge. And yet, all I saw today were, a bunch of crack-addled mice running around nipping to find their little bit of victory. And look, this is going to turn around and this is going to bite them. This is going to turn around, and the Republican Party was gleeful almost today. And the thing that gets me is, and I spent a good bit of time on social media I was trying to get the latest information coming out and find out what's going on. Because sadly, some sources on social media are better than our mainstream media. But I kept seeing these talking heads, these pundits, all of them pointing their finger at Joe Biden. This is Joe Biden's fault. I'll tell you right now, I hope our military, and look, I'm not somebody who's a warmonger. I hope our military right now is bombing the hell out of ISIS in their strongholds. And for those who don't know, the Taliban, who is taking over Afghanistan, and ISIS are two different entities who will be fighting each other. And ISIS wanted to cause this moment. They wanted this moment. Now, I give Joe Biden credit. I watched his speech today. He showed what a leader is. He showed what a leader does. He stepped forward and he said, I bear responsibility. Now, of course, it was a Fox News reporter go, is this your fault? And he said, look, I bear responsibility for fundamentally all that's happened of late. The buck stops there. And I'll tell you, in this moment, I looked at Joe Biden, somebody who showed empathy, somebody who showed compassion, someone who truthfully understands what it's like to have to deal with these situations. Showed the face of a nation in mourning, but resolve. and said, look, we're going to hunt you down. We will find who did this. And it was one of these moments where I'm going, had we someone with that mindset, had George W. Bush taken that mindset that we're going to go get who was responsible, and we had bin Laden, for all reports that we had him and let him go, had they taken him out at Tora Bora, we'd have never been in Afghanistan. And it's one of the things that I think Joe Biden was absolutely right about in his speech. That if this would have been any other country, we wouldn't have gone in. We wouldn't have been there for 20 years. I mean, stop and think about that. I was looking at some of the numbers, and some of the numbers are half the people in this country of Afghanistan have never known Taliban rule. They've only known the U.S. being in control there. Half the country. And when you look at the fact that we've gotten in just the last several weeks, over 100,000 people out, I'll tell you, this is a major undertaking and success story. But I look at the tragedy of today, and this is what's going to be remembered. I look at this day and I go, how dare someone use this as an attack line? We should be in this moment resolved to one, getting out of there, because overwhelmingly the American people want out. Now, there are going to be those, the war hawks, the warmongers, the lobbyists for the big defense contractors who are going to say, this is why we shouldn't leave. We should stay. We should take them both on. We're going to take both ISIS and the Taliban on. And we should do it alone. Because, again, the military that we built for the last 20 years collapsed in 11 days? Surrendered in 11 days? Now, I had somebody, come at me today and say, well, you're surrendering. You're going to lose the war. We didn't lose. We didn't lose anything. The objective, and I guess I'm old enough to remember what the objective was, because I was all in favor of it. Go get bin Laden. Go get the guy who was the mastermind behind 9/11. Go get the guy who was behind the embassy bombings and the bombing of the Cole and all of the things that they were doing. Go get them. Break that up. That's it. Never wanted to be somewhere 20 years and try and rebuild a nation. And President Biden talked about this. You were never going to bring democracy as we know it anywhere near Afghanistan. As he pointed out, there have been tribal leaders and tribes there fighting and warring for thousands of years. How arrogant of us to think that we could change that. How arrogant of us if we just stayed a little longer. And look, there are voices out there right now who are going to use this tragedy today as the springboard to go, no, we need to stay longer and we need to sacrifice more young men. I was reading some of the comments on social media today, and someone asked the question that I always ask when someone's killed in a war. Do you think they were someone's child who was, I don't know, in our 1%, in our top 5%? Do you think one of those killed in this attack were someone who was, in the top 10% economically? And the answer is no. We know who our soldiers are. They're the poor and the working class. It's how it's always been. And for me, when I look at a day like today, I go back and I think of Smedley Butler's War as a Racket, and the lives that were lost, and the treasure that was spent, and the opportunities missed. Also, we could have more rich people, more corporate special interests, more defense contracts. And yeah, it does trickle down to us a little bit. We get jobs out of it. But we have to send our children off to die somewhere. And I'm sorry, I'm not going there. Now, do I think we should be finding who did this? Yeah. But there are ways of doing that without sending 100,000 working class kids into the desert. The thing that bothers me here, and I keep coming back to this in this moment, you look at the voices out there who are pointing their finger at President Biden. You look at the people who are full-throatedly attacking, saying he's to blame. It's all his responsibility. Had we been out of here on May 1st, things would have been different. And you go, you wouldn't have gotten people out by May 1st. Evidently, you don't understand logistics. And here's the thing, and this is where I have some hope. Those people who were quite gleeful over today's events, happy to go on to the social medias and proclaim their superiority and point their finger at Joe Biden, they were met with some stern pushback. They were met by people who were saying, what is wrong with you? And I'm hopeful that, in these moments, we put down our swords, we put down our divisions, and we mourn our dead, and we move forward. And we get out of there. For me, it's that simple. I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Also today, something interesting happened. A group of 7 Capitol policemen. And I've actually been waiting for this. I've been waiting for somebody on our insurrection day, when our domestic terrorists, when our local ISIS or Taliban or Al Qaeda or 3%ers or whatever you want to call them, get finally drug into court. You have this group of 7 Capitol police officers who have filed a lawsuit against Donald Trump, the former guy, and I guess nearly 20 of the extremists on the right. The people who planned January 6th, the people who were behind it, the people who funded it. The suit implicates the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, people like Roger Stone, the Legal Brain Trust. And I got to think in this, you got to go after some billionaires. The people who funded this nightmare. And what's interesting to me, and I look at this suit, and I'm hoping the discovery phase is public. I'm hoping we get to see everything out in front, and I hope every one of these people are put into bankruptcy and sued till the cows come home. And then maybe we can give them some deworming medication so they don't get COVID. But I'm hoping in the discovery phase, we find out who was behind what and where the money came from. But the thing that really bothers me is the very same people who were the Stop the Steal folks, the very same people who were out there waving the flags and beating our policemen with flagpoles with the American flag on it, and worse yet, the Blue Lives Matter flag. They seem to be the same people who right now, the same unpatriotic people who right now are attacking Joe Biden. The same ones who are for what happened today, wanting to move on impeachment. And you go, really? Is this what you've been waiting for? And the answer is yeah, this is what they've been holding their breath for. They've wanted a tragedy. They've wanted a catastrophe. They've wanted something bad to happen so that they can have their moment. And the worst thing about this is there are some people who are now saying that we should derail the whole agenda. Stop the infrastructure improvements, stop the voting rights bill from moving, stop the entire agenda. And understand, this is the Republican game plan. This is their MO. This is what they do. And they do it masterfully. You have to give them credit. They're well organized, well funded. But I think on this one, I think they've overstepped. Because I think the American people, especially with Joe Biden today coming out and saying, look, the buck stops with me. I am ultimately responsible. And I take on that responsibility. And we're going to make this right. We're going to get the people who did this. But we're still getting out. This isn't a moment where we go, no. U-turn. We're going back. Kind of makes you wonder. The objectives of some. Now, as I said, I'm hoping with this lawsuit, I'm hoping that we hold the former guy accountable on some level, because I'm almost losing hope on a certain level with Congress moving way too slow with the hearing process. And I guess there's a second one coming up very soon. But this is something we should have moved on a long time ago. We should have been moving on this. We should have been subpoenaing people. We should have been having these hearings all along. We should have been having testimony all along. And I know, Rick, you're being impatient. I believe in speedy justice. I believe in people being held accountable. Especially the people who on January 6th attacked our country. And the people who today attacked our country. But like I said, this isn't me going, oh, hey, let's send 140,000 troops into Afghanistan and start this nightmare over. It's time for us to go. It's time for them to move in their direction, wherever that's going to lead them. And we've got to get out. And the people who have helped us, we owe a responsibility to. We owe a debt to help them find somewhere where they're not going to be murdered. To help them find somewhere where they're going to be rewarded for helping us, not left behind, not left out. And anyone who says, no, screw those people, I'm sorry, you're not an American. You're certainly not patriotic. And you're a disgrace. And sadly, a lot of you know who you are. I'd like to hear your thoughts. If you email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com, I do answer all emails personally. Going to take a quick break. When we come back and talk a little bit about education in schools, back after this.
American, then workers standing up, and the union gives a voice to win. On the Rick Smith Show.